So we've heard a lot about what is coming, and it's pretty sobering. And we've been working quite a bit and thinking quite a bit about how we're going to address that in San Mateo County. So I've had the privilege of working with Supervisor Pine and many elected officials in this county to develop a new agency that will address sea level rise within the county. So why are we doing this? Well, we know we've got a problem coming, but in San Mateo County, we're not very well set up for addressing that issue. If you look to the south in Santa Clara County, they have the Santa Clara Valley Water District. That is an agency that handles flood control for the entire county. They're very well organized. They have a presence in Washington, D.C., as well as Sacramento, and they're getting grant funds. To the north, in San Francisco, you have one city and county. It's one agency. They're already planning for sea level rise. They just passed a several $100 million bond to begin protecting the shoreline between the Fisherman's Wharf area and Oracle Park without even having a plan. But the fact that they're in Washington and know the elected officials and know the agencies up there, they're very competitive in grant funds. In San Mateo County, we really don't have that. Right now, we have a countywide flood control district, but it's only operating in 3 specific areas: Colma Creek, San Bruno Channel, which is right by SFO. And we're also a member of a JPA down at San Francisco Creek. But what we are doing is we're developing a new agency to address not only regional flooding issues, but sea level rise within this county. It will allow us to speak as one voice in Sacramento and Washington to be eligible for more grant funding. And I keep harping on grant funding. But these projects to protect the shorelines on both the bayside and the coast side are extremely expensive. Foster City just issued a bond for $90 million to protect roughly 5 miles of shoreline. If you think about it, we've got probably over 50 miles of shoreline on the bayside and coast side, probably a little bit more. So if you do the quick math, that's about $1 billion problem, and we're not going to be able to solve that without grant funding. So what we're doing is looking to become more eligible and really get ahead of this. I like to call this thing a slow-moving train wreck. You know it's coming, the impacts are starting to be felt, but you need to plan for it now. And these projects to do work on the coast sides are very technically difficult, and they're very hard to permit, and they take a long time to construct. Well, construction's about a year or 2. The permitting process is about 5 to 10 years, believe it or not, on these types of projects. And finally, this new agency that we're talking about is going to address more regional clean water solutions for the peninsula. For those of you that are in the technical field, we're under the municipal regional permit with the San Francisco Regional Water Quality Control Board that requires us to remove pollutants from the water before it's discharged in the bay. We found through CCAG's work that is a lot more cost effective to work regionally on these solutions than it is individually as cities. So what have we done? Well, as I mentioned, through Supervisor Pine's leadership, we formed a water committee through CCAG and through the cities. That water committee has been meeting for about a year. We also formed a staff advisory committee, and what that group did was basically developed a proposal to form this new agency. This proposal has been adopted by CCAG as well as our Board of Supervisors. So what is the proposal? Well, it's on the right there. There will be a URL later in this slideshow that you can write down so you can actually see this. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our countywide flood control district, which is now a dependent district of the county of San Mateo. We are going to divorce that from San Mateo County and create an independent district with a brand new board of directors. That board of directors will be made up of 5 members, 5 elected officials from cities, representing the geographic areas in the county, north, mid, and south, as well as the coast. There will be 1 at-large elected official, and then there will be 2 members of the Board of Supervisors on this board. 1 will be from District 3, which is the coast side. That'll be Supervisor Horsley. The other supervisor will be named by our Board of Supervisors on June 25th. We are going to have what's called a 3-year startup period. So we've gone out to all 20 cities who have endorsed this plan and asked for the cities to contribute over the next 3 years. The total contribution for the city and the county is $1.5 million. So the county's putting in $750,000 a year, the cities are putting in $750,000 a year for the next 3 years to begin this agency. So what are we gonna do? Well, the first thing we're gonna do is hire a general manager. So for those of you out there that are looking for a job, this job announcement's gonna come out in about July. Keep your head up. When that person gets seated, they're going to have two real functions. One is to create that agency, to hire staff. Secondly, they are going to develop what we're calling an investment plan. And what that investment plan is going to do is look at the base side and the coast side and start looking at a lot of public outreach to engage the public on what potential solutions might be within their reaches. But also look at what types of solutions are possible and find out what this might cost. So there's going to be a lot of outreach, a lot of education to really get people up to speed on what this problem is and what some of the solutions are. That is going to be used as a basis for developing a long-term funding plan. As I mentioned, this is very expensive work. The work will likely be funded primarily through grants, but there is always a local match. So we're going to need to develop a long-term funding source. In Santa Clara County, they've got a parcel tax that they use to fund their flood control type work. It'll be up to this new general manager to figure out what that sort of funding mechanism is, but it will need to happen. We'll also continue with what we call MOU projects, which are Memorandum of Understanding projects. We're right now working with 7 cities on regional flood control projects that will benefit the communities. One is the Bayfront Canal. So when it rains in this county, you see on the news there are mobile home communities in Redwood City that get flooded. We're now working on a solution to that problem. We're also working in Belmont with the cities of Belmont, San Carlos, and the county on Belmont Creek. And we're also up in South City, this little finger of water that's called Navigable Slough. It's right by the South City Costco. But when the seas get high, that begins to overtop, and there's already flooding up there. So those projects will not be interrupted. We've also been approached by a couple of other cities, and we'll likely have a couple more projects coming up. One is in Foster City out here. It's called Bay Winds. There's a location where windsurfers come in and out of the bay in Foster City. That shoreline is receding, so we need to work on that. The other one is the Burlingame-Millbrae area. So if you go from Coyote Point to SFO, there's a lot of property at risk there, and we've been becoming engaged with those communities to start that work. So there will be no disruption there. Also, the flood control district itself will not be disrupted. So I mentioned we operate 3 subzones in the flood control district. Those will continue unabated. So this is our schedule. Right now, we've gone through our proposal phase. We've developed that. We've gone through an endorsement process with the cities. We also have legislation in Sacramento to form this district. It's AB 825. This was carried by Assemblyman Mullen. It has now gone through a couple of committee hearings in Sacramento. Hopefully the governor will sign this, and this district will be formed on January 1st of 2020. That's it. So anyway, that was a lot to cover. But the bottom line is, what we're doing is trying to get an agency developed that will eat, drink, and sleep sea level rise and regional flooding. There's nobody in this county that's doing this right now, and we really need to have one voice and work as a region. So that's what we're doing. And I'll be around for questions because there's a lot going on with this thing. Thank you.